Let me show you what you can do with our Rethunk Junk resin paint and some outdoor furniture. Now, we've got these handy new Rethunk Junk paint measuring cups. They come with the lids. They're in stock. You can buy them here. You can order them online. The cool thing about using these is I can pour out of here into here, so I have a container to use. Then I can put the lid on it so it doesn't dry up in between coats. So what do we always start with? Prep. We start with prep. Even on your outdoor pieces, you want to prep it first because you can't see what I see, but you know if you've ever gone outside and you get ready for spring, summer, you have to wash your pieces. Look how cool this, it's bamboo, it's rattan, whatever you call it. We're getting ready to call this midnight because this piece of furniture is a little bit dingy, and I'm sure back in its day, it was absolutely beautiful. And anymore, it's really not. Now I'm going to close in right here where I'm working on the base. So I'm going to prep first. Spray it liberally. Don't saturate it. You don't have to, but you do have to make sure you've got enough prep on your piece so that you're cleaning it well. Let your prep sit and work. Same thing with the prep, same thing with the paint. Let it do its job. Don't get in a hurry. The beautiful thing about the prep and the paint is it does save you a lot of time, but you do, drop my rag, you do have to let it do its job. So I'm going to start down here at the base where I sprayed first, and I'm going to get in between those grooves. This would be a great time for me to have one of my old ragged paint brushes to get down in those grooves, but it looks like this rag is doing a pretty good job, and we have a huge difference already. This side's ready to put some paint down on, so let's get to it. I have my Midnight Rethunk Junk paint by Laura. I have my 2-inch Wooster. I've had it soaking in some water just to get those bristles damp so that my Midnight moves smoothly. And let's put this on here. Two coats of Midnight should have this covered. Watch for your ridges and edges. Make sure you don't have any runs. Make sure you don't have any pools of paint. Make sure you've got everything smooth. Watch it as it's drying. We started over here, and I can see that it's still a little bit damp, but you can see the areas where it's already starting to dry. Because you have ridges and some architecture here, you do want to make sure you check it because paint has a tendency to goop up. Goop is a technical term, and you'll end up with all of a sudden this goop will turn into a drip and it'll run down, and if you don't catch it before it dries, then you'll have to correct that situation. When you check your paint, use the back of your hand, not your fingertips, because if you touch it with your fingertips, you're going to leave a mark. If you touch it with the back of your hand, you can feel a little bit better whether or not that paint is tacky or whether it has set up and it's ready. So let's say your paint's already started to tack up. I'm going to move you in so you can see it real well. You see the goop line right here? If you take this brush and you pull through it right now, you're going to pull the paint, you're going to have a marred up spot, and it's not going to be pretty. So what do? Well, let me tell you. Damp your brush. Make sure you don't oversaturate it, but you want to make sure you damp your brush. Now let me put my glasses on so I can see this. I've got water on my brush. I'm just going to squeeze it a little bit, and I'm going to pull that goop down. I'm going to pull the water that just dripped down, and I'm going to make sure that I don't leave that ridge there to dry, because once it's dry, it'll look terrible. It won't look like a good professional paint job. And that is a handy little tip so that you don't have goopy spots or you don't pull your paint off prematurely. And this is the size brush that we'll use to go back in and squish paint down into the grooves where we need to once it's good and dry. And let's prep this side. If you want to distress this paint easily, quickly, simply, once you finish painting it, take a clean rag, not your dirty rag, but take a clean rag and spray a little prep on it and distress it with the prep. Guess what? It'll work. And let's go to it. I'm going to go right up against what's drying without disturbing it. So if you're wondering why I'm painting up and not down, it's not just to be different, but it actually helps make the paint move where I need it to without brushing down. If I were brushing down, I'd get to that, and you see all that paint that's globbed up right there? We'd have goop. We don't want goop. It's challenging enough when you have a textured surface or an architectural surface to make sure you get your paint where you need it to be without running it. And with that stroke, we are done with the first coat on this side. So I'm going to take my handy little cup. I'm going to put my brush in the water. I'm positive that the other side of this is dry enough so that we could go ahead and do another coat. What I want to do is wait. I want to take my fine bristled brush. I want to make sure I have my detail work done before I move forward again. So where the bamboo meets the rope, I want to take my fine bristled brush and I want to get down inside of those edges. And I want to make sure we've got a good solid base of midnight before we do the next coat of paint. I also don't want to make you sit here for another 30 minutes and watch paint dry. It's not hard, but it's not that much fun either, is it? Prep, paint, and protect. And if you're doing an outdoor piece of furniture, your protection is in your resin additive paint product from Rethunk Junk Paint Company. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will post updated pictures once we have this beautiful, beautiful table set ready to set with some dishes and some coffee, and maybe you can come over and we'll hang out for a little while. Y'all have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for being here.